Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to explain and simplify VLANs. We are going to talk about what are VLANs, why do we use VLANs, and how do they work. By the end of this video, you'll be able to configure a port, assign a VLAN, and differentiate between tag and untag, trunk, and access. To start with, what are VLANs? VLANs are virtual networks that separate a physical network into multiple logical networks. Each VLAN creates its own broadcast domain. VLANs work as though they were created as physical, independent switches. Communications between VLANs can be done using a router. Why do we use VLANs? Security. One can create policies and allow only permitted traffic to talk to other devices on different VLANs. Example, if I have a financial software sitting on the server's VLANs, I can create a policy that will only allow finance computers to access that software. Reduce congestion. If I have a broadcast domain, meaning a LAN with 1000 computers, I can split that network in two using VLANs, therefore reducing the amount of broadcasts, making my network more efficient and faster. Another reason why one would implement VLANs is to simplify troubleshooting. How does it work? A managed switch that understands 802.1q encapsulation, well, if you don't know what that means, put it aside for now. Just remember it for later. In simplified terms, a switch that understands VLANs can differentiate between one VLAN and another using VLAN tags in the Ether header. Let me explain in a more practical way. Host A sends traffic to the switch, and the switch has received that packet on an untagged port. So the switch adds a VLAN tag to that packet on the Ether header. In this example, the switch dictates that the traffic needs to go to host B, which is on port 2, and port 2 is untagged. So before it leaves the port 2, it will remove the tag and send the packet to host B.
Okay, here I have a Cisco 3750 and I would like to configure a couple of ports to demonstrate how to configure an access port and a trunk port. So I would like to have a look at the model of the switch. So here we have a Cisco 3750X and I have run show inventory to get this information. Now the next thing I would like to do is show run on the interface of 45 and interface 46 to make sure that the configuration, there's no other configuration there. And this is kind of best practice to make sure that you're configuring the right port that you're intending. So the first thing I would need to do is I would need to go on the interface, do a switch port mode access, and then switch port access VLAN 10 in this case. Okay, so it looks like the port has been assigned to VLAN 10, and in the process, it created also VLAN 10 because VLAN 10 did not exist on the switch. I run a no shut so I can enable the port, and now the port is enabled. I can check again the configuration of that port just to make sure that we have configured it properly. So as you can see, is the commands that I've ran: switch port access VLAN 10 and switch port mode access. So now this port 2/0/45 has VLAN 10 assigned to it. Okay, let's get on and configure port 46 as a trunk. So again, I need to configure the port, so I need to go on interface G20/46 this time. And if I run switch port mode trunk, it's going to give us some information there, and this command is rejected. Now in this case, what I need to do is I need to do a switch port trunk encapsulation.1q, and switch port mode trunk is the right way to do it. and hit no shot so I can enable the port. Now if I check the configuration of port 46, I can see now that the port is set as trunk and that the two ports are now fully configured. Okay, so that's Cisco switch done. Now let's try to do the same thing, but this time on an Aruba switch. So on an Aruba switch, we don't use the terms access or trunk, but we're going to use the terms untagged and tagged. So first of all, I've logged in into an Aruba switch. I do a conf t again, which means that I'm in a global configuration mode. And the first thing I need to do is I need to go to VLAN 10. And what I want to do is I want to assign VLAN 10 to untagged port 45. So when I do a show run interface 45, it's showing us the configuration, and untagged VLAN 10 under the interface 45 means that when a packet exits port 45, the packet will be untagged. Now let's do the same thing to port 46, but this time we want to use the term tagged. So I go back to VLAN 10, and this time I do tagged 46. Now, if I do a show run on interface 46, it's going to show us the following details. So there's a tagged VLAN, which is VLAN tag 10, and also it shows us there is untagged VLAN 1. Now, when we compare this with Cisco, we know that in Cisco, it did not show us any untagged or tagged for the simple reason that a trunk on Cisco, it refers to it as tagged. So you have multiple tagged VLANs. So if there are multiple VLANs that exist on the switch, it will tag all the VLANs in a Cisco when it's a trunk. But on a Aruba switch, you have to specify which VLANs you want to tag to that interface. Now, the default VLAN is VLAN 1, and it's untagging it to port 46. I can change that, but for this exercise, I am not. What I'm going to do for this exercise, I am actually going to configure another VLAN, which is VLAN 20, and I'm also going to tag it to port 46. Now, what you see here under interface 46, there are two VLANs that are being tagged, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. And there is another VLAN, which is VLAN 1, that is untagged. Now, when a packet is going to exit interface 46, if the packet belongs to VLAN 10, the packet will be tagged. And the same applies to a packet that belongs to VLAN 20. If a packet belongs to VLAN 1, then the packet, when it's going to exit interface 46, it's going to be untagged. And the same applies the other way around. Now let's go back to when we were configuring the Cisco switch. If you remember, we done interface G2/0/46, switch port trunk encapsulation .1q, and switch port mode trunk. Now what this does is it tells the switch to tag all the VLANs going to the port 46, meaning the device that is plugged into port 46. Now, on the trunk port, there is also a native VLAN. In our case, is the default VLAN, which is VLAN 1. Now, this VLAN 1 will be untagged. So any packet that is going to the port 46 will be untagged. Now remember, when you have a port that you have multiple tagged VLAN, you can only have one untagged VLANs, but many tagged VLANs. I hope you like my video. If you like my video, please like and subscribe to my channel. It will encourage me to do more videos like this. Until next time, take care.